that we should not buy into state propaganda. The media does not belong, the mainstream media does not belong to the people, the 54 million, 55 million Kenyans. So we do not have to rely on the mainstream media to validate the fact that we have missing people. We should not rely on the state to validate the numbers of those that they have killed. I would want us to be careful not to fall into the trap of the state propaganda. That we must have quote-unquote families complaining about missed ones, missing people, before we can say that there are missing people. We have to appreciate that there are a lot of families that are not closely knit. There are a lot of young people that are not in contact with their families on a daily basis. There are a lot of young people that came from rural areas and are trying to struggle in the cities or urban centers, and their parents or their relatives do not necessarily have phones to reach them. And you cannot reach a dead person. You cannot reach a disappeared person. You cannot reach an abducted person. You cannot reach a person who is decomposing in a swamp, or people who may have been cremated. So let's not be so quick to dismiss information or leads that we receive from sources. Because when you are in war, the state will try to diminish the number of people they have killed, the number of people they have abducted. They will try to distort and provide misinformation. If we are so quick to attack one another when we are sharing information and are so quick to fortify the propaganda by the state, then we have lost it. Then we are not part of the revolution. Our work as revolutionaries is to highlight the atrocities of the state, is to highlight the excesses of the state, is to trumpet our the values for which we are struggling. It's not to minimize our voices. It's not to fight one another. Number two, I want us to be careful of ownership of this movement or revolution. The revolution does not belong to anyone. It does not belong to any generation. It does not belong to any gender. It does not belong to any tribe. It does not belong to any party. It does not belong to any age group or group of friends. The struggle that Kenyans have been involved in against imperialism, against these puppets propped up by their controllers abroad, the IMF, the World Bank, the CIA, whatever, is a collective exercise. It's a collective movement. It's a collective revolution. If the Gen Zs and the millennials were the only ones on the street, they would not be able to succeed. We must support one another. We must make this a completely holistic and organic revolution. It must involve all age groups. In as much as the majority of the population are Gen Zs and the millennials are the ones that are mainly on the street, we cannot keep away. We cannot keep away because we are in Mombasa, we are in Kisumu, we are in New York, we are wherever. We have to remember that during the South African revolution against apartheid, during the movement against apartheid, most of the fighters were trained in Tanzania. They were not trained in South Africa. Their leaders were in London. They were not in Johannesburg. And so were all revolutionaries around the world. Lenin did not start his revolution to Russia from Russia. Marx never lived in Russia. Che Guevara was not a Cuban. We have to always remember that anytime these people bring atomization, parochialism, distortions and diversions, The moment they ask you, where are you? All these voices are NIS. Because why should it matter where we are? Why do you want me to declare where I am? Unless you are coming to abduct me. Why is that your interest? We have to resist all attempts to divert us. The third point I wanted to make. Ruto is weak. Ruto is cornered. And when I say Ruto, I mean the regime. The regime is weak. The regime is cornered. The regime is desperate. The regime does not have any more tricks. The trickery of so-called dissolving the cabinet is nothing but that, a trick. Because are you in control of who is going to appoint? No. Can you guarantee that the people is going to appoint would serve the public interest? No. Can you guarantee that these people will be qualified? No. Can you guarantee that these people will not loot public resources? No. Can you guarantee that these people will not perpetuate impunity? No. So then, why would you say that he has done anything? He has done absolutely nothing. And as we say, the problem starts at the top. As they say, from where I was born, fish rots from the head. This fish is rotten. The rot was not at the cabinet level. The rot sits at State House. The rot chairs the cabinet. The rot is the commander-in-chief of the goons that are executing people on the street. The rot leads the looters that were distributing money every weekend in sacks. So therefore, if you don't replace the rot with all its miasma, whatever it is that you want to call it, it will regroup. It will grow again. And it will perpetuate a more vicious system of elimination, system of abduction, system of looting than the previous one. We cannot let Ruto escape now. As Buka correctly said, any attempt at dialogue, any attempt to blunt our attacks on the regime, any attempt to divert us, like ODM and the rest have been doing, is counter-revolutionary. It's an attempt to subvert, to sabotage the revolution. It's to try to abort it, like they have always done. This is what they did in 1969. This is what they did in 1992 when the Section 2A was repealed. This is what they did in 2002 after the defeat of Kibaki during the referendum. This they did in 2007 when we pinned Kibaki to the ground. This is what they did in 2017, 2018 when the NRM pinned Uhuru and Ruto to the ground. Raila came from behind and he had a handshake and he subverted everything. And this is what they're doing now. Without this historical context, you're doing absolutely nothing. We must understand this in its correct historical context. These people belong to one club. They belong to one class. They are oriented in the same political mind space. The only thing they understand is to exploit, is to loot, and is to oppress. So what do we need
Miguna, I was requesting if I could just, I'm leaving in 10 minutes. I had lost the mic. You might, if you could, as you are finishing, I could do, and you can come back on.
That's fine. Okay. I'm finished.
Thank you.
The scaremongering that there will be a vacuum if Ruto resigns with Gachagua and that the military will take over is nothing but scaremongering. These people know very well that when Ruto resigns, Gachagua will not take power because we will be going with Gachagua. We will be dissolving this government. And because the Gen Zs and the millennials and the revolutionaries have already rejected all the parties, Azimio will not come to replace them. This is the beauty of it. This revolution is supposed to remove all of them in one fell swoop. So there will be no vacuum. The military will not interfere. They have never interfered. And they are not going to interfere. They have shown that from their presence on the streets. So let no one scare us that the military will take over. And this movement is more mature than the movement in the Sudan. That was a military dictatorship being replaced by people who had not even tried to fight against that dictatorship. So they got hijacked. This will not happen in Kenya. We are too sophisticated. We are ideologically rooted. And when I say we, I mean all of us from all generations, including Gen Zs and the millennials. We are not going to leave anybody out because this country belongs to all of us. So let no one lie to us or deceive us that they can come out of this. We have to remove them. Let's make Tuesday the 16th huge until they will just take the helicopters or wherever to wherever they are going. Thank you.
Thank you very much, General.
Yes.
Thank you very much, General. And because Tony is leaving, Tony, just go ahead so that at least you save your time before you can then come back for the comments. Thanks, Tony.
Right. So I was saying that in order to go ahead, but you have to read Article 4 of the Constitution and hold to account the opposition as much as you hold the government. And the next time we have this change, we must know that we elected a bad executive and we elected a bad opposition. They have failed at their job, and therefore they are making the people have to do their work for them. But now, in order now to know the pressure point for Zakayo, you must understand his history. Now, William Ruto initially, when he was only 26, became the co-founder of the organization of the organizing secretary of the infamous Youth for KANU 92. That was a lobby group that was key upon looting the economy of Kenya then, but also used to fund terror groups that intimidated those that were not with Moi or what was called as the Nyayo era. This is when, by the way, Ruto began to accumulate skills of